Trouble getting your kid to wear a mask during COVID? Well, this child psychologist has got a couple of tips for you. Stay tuned. Hi out there. This is Dr. Brett Pearce, child psychologist, coming at you with a video on how to get your kid to wear a COVID mask. And in fact, I've got 3 ideas for you because, hey, here on the internet, we like our lists of things, and there's nothing wrong with that. So a little bit more about me. My full name is Dr. Brett Pearce, and I am a practicing child psychologist. And it seems like many kids are doing pretty good with masks, but some kids struggle with behavioral difficulties and may not want to cattail, keep their masks on. So let's dive into some ideas for how to get your kid to wear a COVID mask and to keep it on. So when you're managing behavior in general, tilty here. Okay. There we go. When you're talking about managing behavior, you want to think about behavior management as kind of like hedging your bets in order to promote the most likely, positive outcome, not necessarily something where you've got push button control all the time. So just bear that in mind because behavior is complicated. So the first thing that you can do for your kid in order to get your kid to enjoy wearing a mask, or at least not fight the situation as much, is let your kid choose their favorite awesomest masks that they possibly want to choose. So if your kid's way into Batman or Pokemon or Frozen or whatever the case may be, let your kid choose exactly the masks that they want to wear. Make it as fun and as awesome as possible so that we can at least kind of enhance the situation and make it so that it's a lot more appealing. In fact, if you're buying them off the internet, have your kids sit right with you and choose the masks that they want. If you're going to the store, let your kid be the one to pick out the masks that they want. People in general tend to fight things less when they have options and get to choose the options that they like. The second tip that I've got for you is just bear in mind what appropriate expectations are. So if you've got super young kids, like, ages 0 through 3, 0 through 4, if you can get them to wear a mask and to keep it on, then great. But just understand that really young kids probably are not going to really understand too well and aren't going to do a great job of keeping their mask on all of the time. The third tip, and this is probably going to be a little bit surprising to most, but I don't necessarily think that it's a good idea in most, not all, situations to worry too much about rewarding or punishing something as fundamental and as everyday as wearing a mask. Just think about it. So if your kid were, say, choosing not to wear a seatbelt, I guess you could sit there and think about rewards and punishments to try to influence kiddos' behavior, because that's what it would be, influence, not necessarily control. But the chances are it would just turn the situation into an overcomplicated drama, because even when we're using reward, the prospect of not getting a reward is still a kind of punishment, or at least it can be received that way. Instead, when it comes to safety belts in cars, which I guess we could liken to COVID masks, they're just safety equipment that we just use. And so if we want to go to the store, then we have to put on the seatbelt in the car. Same thing with COVID masks. Many places, I have no idea if it's, how many places out there in the United States have the requirement, but certainly around here in the Salt Lake area, we have a mask mandate. And so it's just what you have to do for safety purposes during COVID. And so you don't so much worry about rewarding or punishing it, because then that can turn the situation into a kind of like barter or economic transaction. Like, okay, so What are you going to give me or take away from me? And do I think that it's worth it for me to just be able to not wear a mask? Instead, we just want to regard it as a safety issue. Like, well, this is just the rule. These are the rules right now. If we want to go to the store, if we want to go to the movie, if we want to go to the mall, if we want to go to the toy store and spend your allowance, you are going to have to wear a mask. If you start focusing a lot on rewards and punishments with behaviors like this, it usually doesn't tend to go well. Exceptions to this rule? Well, I guess you could already think of, if we just said, well, shoot, we can't go into the store because you're choosing not to put your mask on. You could think of that as a punishment, I guess, but I think of it more as just a limit that we have to hold fast to. I guess if you had a kid who really had a ton of behavior problems and you used a very well-crafted reward system, which is beyond the scope of this video, and you were incredibly careful about it, then for a kid like that, where one of the behaviors that they tend to have a hard time with is wearing masks when they need to wear masks with COVID, I guess you could think about that. But in general, your best bets are to make it as fun as you possibly can. I, for one, have a pretty cool Bane mask that, because with my way of speaking and my shaved head in the mask, I guess, I sort of come off like Bane from Batman. Not that I otherwise look like Bane, you know what I'm trying to say. But at any rate, make it as fun as possible. Coolest mask that the kid can possibly think of. Make a big deal out of, yes, we're getting these awesome masks so that the kid can really, feel like it's an awesome mask. And then definitely avoid the use of punishment and reward, and make sure that you've got some good developmental expectations. So the younger the kid is, the more relaxed we're going to be about the situation with masks. The older the kid is, the higher, our expectations are going to be about making sure that the mask is on and that it covers your nose and mouth. So at any rate, I hope this is of use to some folks out there. Please stay safe out in the age of COVID. And this is Dr. Brett Pearce, child psychologist, signing off. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.